So, hi, Kenny.
Hi,
Hiya. Can you tell me, first of all, just your name and what your job is here at the BBC?
my name is Kenny McIntyre. My main job is presenting Midweek Sports Sound, non-match nights, magazine programmes as we like to call them. And part of our remit is also to cover the 2 and 3 o'clock bulletins, which we are not happy with, but we have to do it.
So, you're about to read a bulletin at 2 o'clock.
Yes.
And you've already scripted it because you're a professional.
Exactly.
So-
I have had a look. So Jonathan, who was on at 1 o'clock, very kindly cut and paste his 1 o'clock. I've had a look at it.
And you didn't think it was up to standard.
I've changed it. And but Jonathan had also, he's been chopping and changing all morning, so it's not a great lead story. So what we have is football, Winter Olympics and rugby. And Jonathan at 1...
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
no, that's an old one.
That is an old one. Jonathan was actually leading with the SFA,
Oh, the Hampden
the
thing.
Hampden story, and he was leading. That was from his, where are we? That was his 9 o'clock. That was in the front page of the Record this morning, and we got the story stood up. But come 1 o'clock, he had changed that, and he was leading with Elise Christie, I think, from memory.
At 1 o'clock, he led with Elise Christie with
Did he?
a clip.
With a clip. And that's cheating, because it's meant to be a minute and we're not meant to use clips, but I can understand because it's desperate today. I had to do sports sound for an hour the other evening with one football story all day, Massimo Donati signing for St Mirren. Aye. So
That's bad.
That's a challenge.
So sometimes, I guess when I used to do this, you get feast and you get famine.
Yes.
Where there's days where there's far too much. And
Yes.
today would be a day where it's not terrible.
It's not terrible because we have the England rugby team. There's not a great, there's just one change. Elise Christie, who I think has been the story of the games, sick to death of her, frankly, but she's been the story. So I'm putting her in the bulletin. She's second. I'm starting with Celtic. Again, we don't have much today. Sometimes on the day of a game, because the pressers are the day before, we will have people on Good Morning Scotland, etc., that we take a clip from. It's Pat Bonner. He's been everywhere. We had him for about 40 minutes in Sports Sound last night. So I'm just going to use Brendan Rodgers talking about having to replicate the perfect games, he called it, from Glasgow last Thursday.
So when you say there's not a great lead story, what for you constitutes a great lead story?
Right. A great lead story is... There's nothing better, I think, than starting breaking news. There's nothing like that today. So then I try and put my... I do this in Sports Sound as well. I try and think of the audience. So what do you want to hear at the top? I think the big story of the day it's going to develop is going to be Celtic. So we're actually building up to that. So I think it's okay to start with that. I think more people are interested in looking ahead to that than looking back on Elise Christie's failure.
And time is quite a big factor in this as well.
Yes.
So maybe at 1 o'clock, Johners is thinking it's too soon to
Yes,
start building up to
possibly.
a match. But now, as time marches on and you become closer to an event, it's more newsworthy
Yes.
and you can get away with, let's start the preview.
Yes, with a preview. And I think that's key, actually, what you say about time, because Jonathan has been on since 6 this morning. His last bulletin was 1. And there is a change now. It's like a different feel, I think. You're now taking it somewhere different. The morning person will tend to stick with the same stories unless anything breaks right up until 1 o'clock, so I can't wait to get out the door. I
In the
understand
traditional
that.
style.
Yes, been there. Now, I think it's like, let's build up for the afternoon person. So the person I would usually do is 2 and 3, today I'm only doing the 2. And what I think we're trying to do is set the agenda for the afternoon person whose first bulletin is into News Drive at 4 o'clock.
So the SFA story about Hampden being for sale for possibly as little as £2 million, that's gone now from your bulletin.
For me,
and
it's
that
gone.
was Johners' lead at 9 o'clock.
Lead at 9 o'clock, which I've got here. It's the one that's left on the desk.
So do different people have different opinions, or has that story become...
Well, interestingly, I was just speaking to Keradine there, who doesn't like the way I've written my bulletin, but he's never shy
It's
to
all
tell
about
you.
opinions.
It's all about opinions, but he agrees with me that Celtic is the only lead right now.
So do you find sometimes personal opinions come into how you order a bulletin?
Yes.
Because you love Rangers. That's just a wee joke. It's just a wee joke.
Just a wee joke. I was in a studio last night
Right.
presenting Sports Sound. Beside me, Rab Douglas, Chris Commons, Paul McStay's son, Peter Grant's son, Pat Bonner down the line from St Petersburg.
You fell in with a really good crowd, Kenny.
Through the Glass, Francis Henry, James Mitchell, and Andy Burke.
Oh, how did you feel?
What's happening?
I don't know. What's happened to the
Times are
establishment?
changing, yes.
But sometimes, I guess, when I was doing bulletins, you become aware that you find certain stories more interesting, and sometimes that does maybe bump them up a wee bit, but that's something
It
they've got
does.
to counter as well.
Has. I always think, and I think Sports Sound's a good guy, when I'm not presenting Sports Sound and I'm in the car, I think, what do I want to listen to? And who do I want to listen to? And I'm not going to name names here, unfortunately. But last week I was listening to a lot of coverage. We've been done a lot ourselves on the Scotland job. And I was interested in the debate, and they had somebody on, and I thought, I've got no interest what they think about it. And that makes you think. So when I'm presenting, I try and think, who do people want to hear from? And another way we do it now as well is, what guests can we get on that what they say would be strong enough, with enough interest that actually could go to a online story and a bulletin clip for the morning. You know, so if it's James McFadden, Chris Boyd, Chris Commons, people like Barry Ferguson, people like that, I think you think, yeah, people are interested, and there's an online story and there's a clip. Whereas others, it doesn't really matter what they think, in my opinion.
One quick final question on diversity. Look, it's only 1 minute to 2, but he's such a pro, he can answer this.
Yes.
I was aware after I left that there was maybe more initiative to include like one women's sport or one non-football in each bulletin. Is that still a thing?
Yes, that
Right.
is very much. I think if you sit here and you've got an all football bulletin, as much as you may think that's
That's
what
a
it should
belter.
be,
Uh-huh.
yes. I now start to think about that. I think, no, actually there must be a rugby line, a tennis line, well, in this case a Winter Olympics line, whatever that we can put in.
And a women's story, was that a thing for a while?
Yes, very
Right.
much so, and that's also.
And at least Christie's in there, so this one would pass that test.
It would pass that test, and that's a test we've yet to be successful at, I think, for Sports Sound. We're working on that.
Okay, thank you very much, Kenny.
You're welcome.
Thanks.